Here, what's up? So you want to learn how to utilize your dong. You want to drop down big dong damage and mix your opponent up for 15 years in a Sunday. Well, then let me introduce you to Kevin. This is Kevin. He does all those things, and what more stable. Yeah. But anyway, let's say you don't want to do all that and you want to play a respectful mid to low tier. Well then, welcome to this Dong Hwan guide. Here I will show you how to how to maximize your dong. How to walk into any local and drop your dong on a table and be a force to reckon with. Have people respect your dong. Kneel and pray to your dong. Well, then you possibly came to the right place. This guide aims to cover most, if not all, of Dong Hwan's bases. For now and the potential future. Meaning I will try to keep this guide updated to the best of my ability if any big balance patches or any future tech were to come out in the future. That being said, if this guide helps you out, please remember to leave a like. And if I happen to miss any part of information that is important here, please remember to leave a comment. I will always correct this guide in the future. Moving on to the lore. So, you pick Kim Dong Hwan, the Taekwondo genius, the brother to Kim Jae-hoon, the son to Kim Kwon, and you came for the kicks and the light linear effects, didn't you? Yep. Yeah, I just shut the fuck up then. Yeah. Moving on to Dong Hwan's normals, starting with his far normals. Far A is a 6-frame jab, leaving him -2 on block. It is cancelable. You'll mainly be using this for your quick hit confirms. Next up is his Far B. Far B here is a far-reaching 6-frame poke. That's really it. There's nothing else to write home about this. Next up, Far C. Everyone likes mentioning this button like it's a god button. This button, just like any mere mortal, has its fair share of weaknesses. It is 12 frame and leaves him -3. It's his safest far-reaching poke. And it actually has really good range, but suffers from the same problem that mine does, in which it whiffs on crouchers at a fair amount of ranges. Like it just whiffs. Even if a move has like recovery that leaves them recovering in crouch, it will whiff. Of course, it does hit if you're close enough, but at this point, I might as well take 2 steps forward and use post C. Like what the fuck. One that you just kind of want to note is on counter hit, this does leave you +8, right? Which should let you theoretically link into 2C, which doesn't work. They reel back so far that it really doesn't link. I don't know why specifically they made this like this, but it's there. Typically when you get this counter hit, if you're wondering like if it doesn't in the corner, it doesn't either. And no, this isn't cancelable, so I can't cancel this into anything. But if you're wondering if this works in the corner, it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know typically what they want it to be done with this normal with +8 frames. But a tip that I use when I get this and I see this counter hit and not wild punish is I just use the plus frame to either cover the gap or the Dong Hwan special and start jumping. Next up, moving on, Far B. Another really good button for wild punishing. It's a really good button. This is a 13 frame startup forward advancing move, leaves him -5, so it is punishable if not spaced correctly. Key thing about this one too, it suffers from the same problem as Far C, and it doesn't hit crouchers. It does very much hit crouchers. Is if you space this out properly, you don't get a follow-up. Just to show you don't get a follow-up. If you do hit this closer, if you risk life and limb for this move to hit closer, you do get a very, very good follow-up, and it's nothing not to write home about, but you do have to risk your risk yourself to do this. It's, you know, quite something. Moving on to his close normals. His close normals is where he's going to shine. You have close A. Close A is a 4-frame jab, leaving you +1 on block. It is cancelable. You can use it. It's not the one you're going to be preferred to use. When it comes to preferred to be used, it is the workhorse of Dong Hwan here. His close B. Close B is a 5-frame kick, leaving you +2. Why is this notable? Is that this frame traps into close C, giving you the world's easiest counter hit confirm I think I've ever seen in my life. Now, close B is special cancelable, so you can do some things into it, but nothing is true. Next up, moving on to the button I just mentioned, close C. Close C is another workhorse in his kit. Close C is a cancelable double hitting normal at 6 frames, making it a Shoto's wet dream. Very easy hit confirms. You're going to be doing a lot of things off of this. Now, as for its faint pressure after, it's to be desired. You can feint cancel this and be +1, meaning that you're typically going to be threatening a far A or a 2B. Just keep in mind that if this 2B does connect, it does not connect into far A, you have to take a risk. Well, not really a risk, and immediately connect into 2A, which is a -6 non-cancelable normal, but you can super cancel it on hit. And it's pretty lenient on its hit confirms. Moving on to close D. Close D is a 7-frame double hitting kick, non-special cancelable, leaves Dong Hwan +3 on hit. Does give him a guaranteed follow-up on regular hit, letting him combo off of it. Boom, like that. And on counter hit, it can get pretty funky, allowing him to do some pretty cool things. Like that. And that's not nothing optimal. I just did that in the heat of the moment. Keep in mind, if you want to get technical with this, you can link into close C after if you got it like that. You know, it isn't too crazy in the corner. But, you know, it's still a thing if you want to maximize that damage. Other notable normals to go over. You have 2B. You heard me mention this button. It is his 5-frame button. You'll be using this a lot when you want to fucking mash on something. This is your button to go to. Don't use this. Don't use this. Don't ever use this shit. Use this. Another button that will come in handy is his 2C. It's another workhorse. It's used for a lot of his frame traps, a lot of his links. It's a pretty good button in staple. Also, it's really good for using to get out of feint pressure if someone's just feinting and dashing in and doing all that other shit. 2C would do a really good job of checking them. It doesn't lead into any of his launchers without counter hit, but it can reliably be hit confirmed into 214A or 214C for a meterless combo. If you want to be tricky, it can also lead into his light stop. Continuing on, his jump normals. He has jump A and jump B. Jump B is a really good jump in, very quick jump in. It has a little bit of an issue hitting crouchers sometimes. It's going to be used for a lot of your break cancels, right? It's going to be used for a lot of your 2-1-4 break cancels in the air, and sometimes in the, when you TK them. It's pretty good. It also does, if I remember properly, it can hit cross up. Yep, it can hit cross up, but that's not its main use. I'm gonna tell you a normal that that's actually its main use to hit cross up. His jump A is a very interesting button. This does actually hit on crouchers pretty reliably. It's also special cancelable, so you can do some pretty fun things, right, with this. Next up, jump C and jump D. Jump C is another interesting button. I'm actually going to get to that after jump D. Jump D is just your regular jump in, heavy hitting normal. His most hard hitting jump in. Right. Now going back to jump C. Jump C is a very interesting normal. It is a cancelable normal. You'll be using this a decent amount in a lot of the combos that send the opponent flying up into the air for 15 fucking years. Right? So you will be using it for a decent amount of air situations. So just, keep that in mind, obviously. It is a button. It has a really high hitbox. It does hit higher above him. So if you do happen to hop and then press this button, this does actually have a pretty good chance of slapping someone out of the air. And as you can see, it is special cancelable. So just keep in mind that once you do hit this, you're pretty much good to go. Moving on to another very, very special button. Dong Hwan's go-to button for his cross-ups. J4C. J4C here is a very good button. As you can see, it snatches people closer to him, letting him freely follow up after. And it does actually apply this on rev guard. So even if someone rev guards this, that's why he doesn't particularly, from his cross-up situation, he doesn't really care if you rev guard the cross-up because he still gets his turn and he's still directly where he wants to be, which is in front of your face. Right? The one thing about this that you have to note, pay attention here. I have it on 100% guard and he's on normal guard just to make sure. This does hit crouchers, but it is not an overhead. You can block this crouching. A lot of people deceptively think this is an overhead because he's jumping and it's a jump normal. It is not. An overhead that snatches you forward and leads to a free combo and hit. I don't think anybody would want to deal with that. To say, of course, you do want to stand block this to minimize the amount of frames he is. To minimize the plus frames that he gets. If he does this too early, he can be even. But, any Dong Hwan's going to be break canceling this into this normal, so most of the time he's going to be fucking plus anyway. So to be honest, it doesn't really fucking matter unless he fucks this up. That wraps up his normals. As you can see here, there's a trend here. His fire normals are pretty meh. He has some pretty good close range normals with some obvious weaknesses. And some actually really good jumping normals. Now we can move on to the specials. Now this is where the dongening happens. Now moving on to his specials. Starting with Ray Mei, 2-on-4 kick. Ray Mei's electric ass kick that is a good source of Dong's mix and aerial movement, with the EX and heavy version being 28 frames and 24 frames respectively. With the light version being 21 frames startup. The heavy version is punishable at -4 and leaving you directly in your opponent's fucking face. And the EX and the light version are safe. The difference between the EX and the heavy, the difference between the EX heavy and the light is the EX and the heavy are actually true overheads, giving you plus frames on hit. So you can continue your offense. Another quirky thing about these moves, it can be very much broken before the hit, allowing for some tricky mind games. And like I said, the source of his aerial movement. You can break this move in the air, allowing for very fast and very tricky aerial movement. My bad, forward movement. Allowing you to possibly get an approach on your opponent. Now, this is really important because Dong Hwan is actually one of the few characters, I think probably the only, but yeah, no, the few characters that can actually cross up a standing opponent with a hop. Because quite usually, you cannot do this. As you can see, it will never go over your opponent's head if your opponent is standing. But with Dong Hwan, that is an option that he always has. Allowing him to go left, right, up, down, noodle, don't noodle.
Noodles, don't noodles.
It's a, the possibilities are really endless, and the only limiter is how good your opponent is good at anti-air. Another fun thing about this move is it's actually one of his, I think, hardest hitting counter hit moves, allowing him to get a combo. Allowing him to get a combo and counter hit. What's important about this is this actually doesn't work on crouchers. So, this move usually he was going to be doing it from either 5C or a stomp from Excel cancel. It does leave a gap so you can jab him out of this. Another thing is actually important is this will be used for a lot of his setups. Breaking this in the air. It's actually used for a decent amount of setups, which I will be showing here on screen. Now, what's important for this setup is if you do this right, you are completely on mid-screen. You are completely safe to all, if not most, reversals if done correctly. It's mainly done from a short hop, either a short hop forward or just a regular neutral jump short hop. And you can threaten them with the cross up. One thing to keep important though, keep in mind is they can delay the wake up reversal into you doing the cross up, and then you really do kind of have to eat that. It's nothing it's a mind game from there on out. Will you do the cross up or will you not do the cross up? Now we can move on to a core piece, another core piece of Dong's kit, Shiden. Shiden makes Dong Hwan equip some black Tims and a ski mask as he proceeds to stomp on your fucking new forces and steal your goddamn plus frames. It's very, very integral to him and his combos and his pressure. Light Shiden being 16 frames and -2 on block, it's mainly going to be used for for combos. But it's heavy Shiden. Heavy Shiden is 23 frames -6 on block, so it is punishable. But it is his meterless launcher, allowing him to get some pretty good confirms from close C. Another thing is, as I mentioned, this is 23 frames. And as before, I also mentioned this overhead is 24 frames, meaning there's a 1 frame difference between these two. So if your opponent is above the age of 60 and fucking colorblind, this is probably the truest high-low you'll ever get. From there on out, the integral part to this move is the fact, as a part of your pressure, it leaves you +3 on the Rev version, allowing you to frame trap with 2C at will. What's also important, this shit, just like an onion, has layers, because you can break this at any part before the stomp. If you break at the first stomp, it leaves you +1 and in prime grab distance, as long as they don't rev. If they rev guard this, unfortunately, you will be pushed out and you will have to do some shenanigans to get back in. All right. So just keep this in mind as both your opponent and you. But it is a expensive option. They can also easily just defend this and respond. It also does leave a gap from close C. Don't ask me why. It just does. It leaves a gap for them to DP, super. Shit, even sometimes S.p.g depending on the character. I mean, even sometimes Red Blow depending on the character. Do not be sad though, because this move does has its ups. Since it is an EX move, you can rev cancel this into whatever the hell you fucking feel like for the low cost of going 40% into your rev gauge. Another cool thing is if by any chance you catch them mashing and you did break this move, I do not know if this is going to be something that you can hit confirm, but if you do, this does give you a nice follow-up, allowing you to get close C in most scenarios. Boom. Allowing for a nice, good crazy hit confirm. If you do follow through, though, you do not get as much of a reward. You are minus, you are, my bad, +6. So it's not like you get nothing, but you know, you don't get as much as if you were to break it. We have Kusajin? Kusajin? Alright, 623 punch. This is DP. Nothing too crazy. Light has full invuln. You know, the usual. Medium, 8 frames. Can be broken for further extensions and things like that. What else we got here? Yeah, EX. Pretty cool. It's pretty much the same as the medium version. It gives up its invuln. It becomes a little bit faster. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's actually some it's a really good cool combo tool though, the EX break, my bad, yeah, the EX DP, which we'll get to a little bit in the combo section of this guide. There's some really nice things to go along with it. Next up, Ashi 2-4 punches. Ashi is a very cool button. It has its uses. It's mainly going to be used for, it's going to be also be used for your light confirms, some of your meterless confirms too for the heavy version. But the non-EX or the non-rev versions are pretty standard of what they're going to be used for. It's just combo tool mostly. Something that you can note is that you can actually break the heavy version before the last hit to keep yourself safe, because these are all very minus on block if you do the last hit, but you can break the heavy version to throw some people off. Now the EX version, if you remember, I said between the 5C and stomp, rev stomp, it leaves a gap between the actual stomp itself. I think it was a rather exactly 4 frames, so it will I think it was like 4 or 3 frame gap there. But the EX Ashi is actually gapless, and it can be breaking in 2 spots right at the beginning, leaving you +2, and right after last hit, also leaving you +2 and setting you at, certain distances. So this one leaves you just in grab range at +2 if you break it at the end. It leaves you just out of grab range, but you can walk in and do whatever you need to do. It's really good if you have an opponent that's constantly rev guarding, or trying to do some offensive shenanigans. I mean, trying to steal back their turns from your stomps. It's not as rewarding as stomp, but you know, it's pretty much also an integral tool when it's getting your opponent to respect the mix. Same thing applies for the stomp, also applies for Ashi. You can excel cancel this, though the timing is a little bit weird sometimes. Even with holding it, for some reason it feels rather weird. So I just kind of end up doing it at the end, you know, to further extend my pressure and mix them up. Because if they press there, they do get counter hit, and you know, as I said, you get your combo. Next up, we can quickly cover the last special move, Hisho. Hisho is his dive kick, 336 kick. Most of the time, you'll be using the only two, which is the light version and the EX version. With the EX version, if spaced out correctly, does allow you to be plus or even. This one is kind of weird. This is not your usual dive kick. The more kicks and the lower to the ground you are, the better it is. Right? The less kicks, the worse you are. So just keep that in mind when you're spacing this. The heavy version is a little bit more finicky because it does a lot more kicks. It does a lot more kicks, and it does a lot more kicks no matter what. So it's a lot harder to space out, and so sometimes you end up even being minus on hit, which we all know from people who play Vox is not something fun to do. So you just keep that in mind. I would say mainly for your sanity, stick to the light version or the heavy version. Also remember, since this is since this is rev, you can excel cancel this to EX air, and EX air is in fact plus on block if you properly do that at the right height. Right? So you can end up being massively plus in front of your face for the cost of 40 rev gauge. I'm sorry. You have to hold it together. Another thing is, there's something really cool about this. Same thing with the same setup. I was going to get into this later date, but I kind of want to cover it now because it's really cool. As I said before with JA is a cancelable move. So, a little funny thing is you can actually cancel this for further mix. Right? Allowing for some very, very tricky mix-ups. And you can even side switch at will. Of course, you know, you have to fucking land the JA. I mean, you can do like instant overhead. Yeah, that's a thing, but you know, a lot of he has trouble with hitting crouchers unless he dedicates himself to hit a croucher. You people tend to just stay crouched. Anyway, that's his specials. Now I'm pretty sure you can start to see some of his trickier options, his very, very much free plus frames. And how breaking them and chaining together can really just mix up and fluster your opponent. And while we're here, we can actually quickly cover and segue his S.p.g and his rev blow. So now we can talk S.p.g. As I've said before earlier on, he's a very much a rev gauge hungry fellow. A lot of his stuff costs a lot of rev gauge to do, and you're going to be using a lot of rev gauge when you get in, even sometimes to get in. So with that being said, typically you're going to want to put your rev gauge probably in the middle or to the end. For me personally, I like the end because I also really like big dong damage. It is my main attraction. So we can go into his, like, while we're here, we can also go into his rev blows. His rev blows are nothing really crazy to write home about. He has his grounded rev blow, as everyone else. 25 frame startup, -2, so it is safe. Not as good as a reversal tool as some other characters, but you know, it is there. But a really good one, I find, something that's actually really good, is his air version. His air version is a really cool one, as it's mainly going to be used in combos. And it's usually used to further extend some of his combos. So, in which I will show here. Now that's really it for S.p.Gs. There's not much to say for those. Oh, while we're here, we can also quickly cover his supers. Dong has one super with 2 versions. It's the same input for both. He has the Dong kick, which is really useful because it does actually lead to some safe jumps, and that can loop this situation. And then he has the air version, right? He has the air version, which is his most damaging super and allows him to extend combos at certain height, which is very important. Now we're going to get into everyone's favorite part. But I want you to remember, I'm an asshole. I don't like giving free handouts, and there's 15,000 different goddamn combo vids out there. You can just watch one of those and take a combo and immediately insert it into here. First, we're going to start off with the beginner part of Dong Hwan's combos, and it's just the fundamental combo system of this game. You can do specials into specials. It's always going to be a thing. It's always going to be there. Most of the time, if you get a light hit, you're going to be confirming into Ashi or 214 punch. But the magic happens when you get that close hit. When you get that close hit, that close boy, you're going to get your meterless launcher, which sets you up perfectly for some of his best damage. We're going to start off with the meterless stuff. You can do something like this. This is always going to be a thing. It's always good. It's always cool. If you don't want to add a DP break, you can just straight DP. It's really forgiving on what you want to do after this stomp. You can pretty much do just about everything besides like the overhead. Well, I lied. You can do the overhead too. Like it's pretty forgiving. Same thing with Excel cancels. If you didn't know, you can cancel a special into a special into a special in this game, and it lets you just freestyle your combos pretty much. Right, so that's something very simple. You don't have to think about much. If you're wondering what this is close. It's a stomp. It's EX stomp, EX Ashi. Boom, boom, boom. EX DP. EX axe kick into level 1. Boom. 442 damage. For 50% of your gauge. He can be really simple. And then he can also have some things that are really difficult. Because of the way his combo structure is, and it's really finicky on how you have to do things. You also have to very much apply micro dashes and breaks into some of his mid-screen combos. For example, that same combo that I showed you earlier. Well, my bad. For example, this combo, which uses a break. Right. This meterless combo right here. It's a pretty simple combo. Like you just break your DP by pressing your rev button, light stomp, and then light ashi. But if you start this combo off of any other button, you will have to microdash this. It's just something you will have to get used to as you play him, because if not, a lot of his combos will drop. Now, while we're on the topic of breaks, you get 2 breaks per combo. You can break 2 times. This is highly evident in his corner routes, which to show off a corner route, you have this. Right? Boom. You have 2 breaks per combos. As you can see here, I break my DP twice. The first time is on my heavy DP, light stomp, and then then rev DP. Right. And then I go into rev stomp, into rev DP, and then blah 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 blah. Once again going on. So this is now breaking into the intermediate territory when it comes to implementing these breaks. Of course, here in this intermediate territory, you're like, well, Demon, what about if I want to end in a super, in my air super? Because you said my air super is the most damaging super. Correct. Dong Hwan is a little bit more interesting when it comes to ending in his air supers, because you have to break your air X kick. Boom. Something like that. Of course, if you get all hits to connect, you will get a bit more damage. But you're probably thinking, well, that's not a lot of damage. And I think I've seen combos where he does double level 2. Well, this is where things start to get to the advanced part. If you hit Dong's level 1 in the air high enough, you can actually continue to extend the combo. So with a little bit of combo changing to your routing, you can do things like this. You can do things like that, and you end up with a lot more damage. But then you're also probably like, well, can I get even more damage? And the answer to that is always yes. With a little bit of elbow grease and finesse, you can actually get even more damage. My bad. A little bit of elbow grease, finesse, and S.p.g. You can actually get a bit more damage.
S.p.g.
All right, and you can do that and ending with more damage. Of course, if you want a little tip to this, you do actually have to hit the last hit of the DP and then end the next kick. I'm bad. Last hit of the DP and immediately end in dive kick, allowing you to get that second hit as high as possible, letting you end in your air rev blow. Now we're gonna move on to the advanced part, where the advanced people are like, oh, that's cool, but that, I don't get that applicably in the mid screen. Boy, are you wrong. This is actually be able to be done mid screen fairly easily, with a technique that we dongers like to call the dong and dash. And by we dongers, I mean mainly me. The dong and dash is pretty simple. It's a Kara DP where you kind of implement a plink motion into your dash, where you end in 236 B, and while you're in the animation of 236B, you're doing forward, down, forward, forward really fast, and then rolling your finger for the DP shortcut to get a very, very fast, kind of like EXDP where he slides across the ground. This is very hard to do consistently. It takes some practice, but when you do it, it is actually really good for his mid-screen extensions. Sorry, y'all. Quick amendment here. I had to pop in and correct something. Yeah, so as I was like editing this, I read the patch notes, and the patch notes said they will be removing this. So if you want to, you can kind of ignore this. I decided to keep this in here so that people know that this did once exist and it was something really, really cool, but unfortunately it was taken out. Anyway, continue the video.
S.p.g.
Allowing you to do wall-to-wall combos, and sometimes if you're really good at just doing it raw, able to whiff punish some buttons that you really can't whiff punish with. It's a very, very, very cool thing where he just kind of gives you the uber feats special and just fucking dashes in your face. Another thing that some people might talk about or want to talk about is his TK super. Now, TK supers in this game is really, or TKs in general in this game is really weird. Because of the pre-jump frames, it feels like you can't really do them. Like for right here, as you can see on, I inputted this while in the up forward motion, and most of the time, most games will give you your super for this, right? But this game is different. Their pre-jump frames is a little bit longer. From testing for me, it felt like it was like anything. You have to hold up for like 5 frames to get this. Another way you can also just do your TKs is do the 236 up and then 236 immediately, and you'll get your TK. This allows for meterless combo. My bad. Rev gauge less combo extensions mid-screen, allowing you to get access to your best super without spending a bunch of rev gauge, which is really good for Dong because, as before, he's very expensive and needs to use his rev gauge on his mix. That is all, and we can move on to my favorite part: gameplay, game plans, and growing pains. Now, gameplay, game plans, and of course, growing pains. As you can know, that he is your he's like we said before, he is your highly committal rushdown character. He excels at he wants to get in through any means necessary to put you in very, very precarious situations and very fast, and then mix you up. Typically when you first load up your match with Dong, you'll be immediately tempted to take to the sky, which is a very good thing because he has some tricky air options between hop, short hop, full hop, dash hop, the fucking air brakes, dive kick. Like it can be pretty beneficial. But then you'll typically run into, after a while, you'll run into some people that know how to deal with this. And so the plan after that, it's what's next? How do I deal with somebody who knows how to deal with my air options? Because, well, typically you're not really neutral. You're not going to be worrying about, is he going to cross me up or not? Or is he going to dive kick? You pretty much can just delay. You gotta fully commit to your ADP or delay your DP a bit more, or air universal anti-air in that case, so that you can anti-air him risk free. And it's also, he also has a little bit more trouble controlling and getting in on characters that control the sky. But for that case, you kind of have JC. JC does a really good job at telling people to get the fuck out the sky and, and giving you a decent amount of reward when this does hit. But for those people who are just DPing you on the ground, and what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I can't do anything against that. Nothing. You don't fucking do anything. You stay to the ground a little bit more. You mix up your hops and you stay true to the fundamentals of this game. Like I said, you mix up your hops, you mix up your jumps, you mix up your dash jumps, and you try your fucking best. It can be very, very, very difficult. It's gonna be very frustrating once you find a player who's actually really good at anti-airing. It's just like fighting a wall. It's like sieging the Great Wall of China if the Great Wall of China had fucking automated turrets that never miss into it in infinite ammo. Like, it's just, damn. It could feel like it pretty much fucking sucks. Another type of people you'll find is the walls. These are people that will just block. They'll just block. And they'll block till either your pressure ends or they get hit. And then they'll just keep blocking. These type of people are both annoying and relatively cool to fight, right? Because they force you to have to grab your opponent. Like I said, Dong is basically threatening you and all throughout his mix with very big damage if you decide to get counter hit by something, and if you get opened up by something, he also gets very big damage. So someone that is just blocking when you have very high committal and very expensive offense is kind of really annoying at first, because you then start to realize I have to set up to grab him a lot more than most normal people, which can suck because at first glance, we're going to get to the first growing pain here. His grab is bad, right? At first glance, keyword here, because it puts them full screen and gets them a lot of space. So a lot of people write this grab off. You know, I understand why, but they write this grab off for this reason. But this grab isn't as bad as you think it is. It does actually allow you to get in right after. If you time your run properly, you can actually be at close normal distance most of the time at +1. Right before they get up. There you go. At +1. And you're probably like, wait, I have to time my dash or my run to get some type of Oki and I'm only +1? That's kind of ass, no? Well, listen here, brother. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. But bright side, you can actually negate this by holding Rev and holding forward. You don't actually have to time this. If you just hold Rev, hold forward, you will literally get your dash out at the earliest convenience. And the only way you mess this up is if you end up too short or too close. The bright side with this though is, since this dash is very, very far, or my bad, this run is very, very far, a lot of people are more inclined to try to mash on this, thinking that you're minus, because they're like, well, I'm full screen and he's running at me and this run is pretty goofy and slow, like I can get in. Well, you would think that, but if you do this just right, you can always get a jab, right? That's always there. Or if you do this just right, you can actually get a full combo. Right? You get a full combo. And then once you train them to respect that you actually do get some type of Oki off this situation, you can really start doing some really fucked up shit. Right? You can start doing some really fucked up shit and getting a deeper dash. And you start having to play the mind games of, hey, will I live true to my frames? Or will I dash so far in your ass that you will be second guessing yourself? Now we can start to talk about the third type of people, mashers. How to deal with mashers. So at first glance, it's a little bit risky to deal with mashers as Dong. The most that most people find is this close C versus 236D, right? It will trade with, it leaves just a big enough gap to trade with a 4 frame normal. Or is this coming out at 5 frames? Let me see. At 5 frames because of pushback. Okay. Leave just enough a gap to trade with 5 frame normals. Close C will push you back further enough. But on top of that, you have something that you're going to be using a lot, and that leaves a nice little gap for you. In this one, I think it does leave like a 3 frame gap. Is close B into close C. Right here. This also leaves a gap. Just keep in mind, you will not be able to get your usual counter hit conversion that, you know, you usually used to doing, which is in my brain, sorry, which is close C, feint, close C. This one you actually do have to just commit fully into the launcher, so you do not get anything too crazy. But you were like, oh, that's pretty quick. Most people have like feints and other things to deal with. He does have an extra layer to this to the meterless frame trap game that he wants to play a bit more, and that is close C into 214A. Now this does, you know, like as you can see right here, frame trap and pushes you back further, so they get a far reaching normal. As you know, this is the A version, so you do not get a full follow-up like the other ones because it pushes you too far back. Usually you don't get a confirm, but as you can see, it's +7 and you're in the corner, and so that allows you to do some really fun things like link into EXDP. Right, so you're pretty much if you really wanted to spend on this, you can. Of course, the scaling is pretty up there, as you know, you started off with your DP, but you know, it's there. Next things up is your stomps. Like I said, your stomps are always going to be there. Of course, you always have this. This is also really, really nice. It will not counter hit. Once again, don't ask me why, but it will get ahead and give you that opening to hit them. I don't know. I guess it doesn't say punish. That's the weird thing with this. It doesn't say punish, but it also doesn't say counter. So I don't know exactly where you're hitting them. I guess it's like in the recovery, because this is not a low. So technically speaking, they should be able to walk, which I do have the bot set to block, but it's just not doing that. I don't know. I think it's a glitch. It might be a little bug or a glitch or something, or like just they have different rules for their whiff punishes, because it doesn't give you a wild punish and it doesn't give you a counter hit on the light button, far light buttons. So usually you only get like a quick confirm is usually what you want to do with like 214 C. All right, like that. You're so far back though, and also this does not directly link into 236D. Just keep that in mind. That is not link. As you can see right there is a gap, so you do not want to just throw this out willy-nilly. So just also, you know, keep that in mind. You mainly just want to go for this if it's meterless. Of course, you can go for the EX version if you really need the combo. But once again, you're already up there in rev gauge once you start frame trapping from stomp. Keep in mind, like I said, you have layers. Everything you do have layers. So if you don't want to do that, follow up on that second stomp, you can always do it on the first stomp, leave yourself a frame trap, and boom, you're ready to go. Right? So you're good. Of course, it will trade right here, but you're still close range, so you can get a close jab into a light confirm. It will trade with 214B. Right, just keep that in mind. I wish it didn't, but it does. Unfortunately, they also get a close frame normal, so it will end up trading. Of course, it is in your favor. If it does trade slightly, nothing crazy at +1, but once again, it's there and it's an advantage that you can use. Once again, as I was saying though, this does have layers because you do not actually have to break these if you do not want to. You can throw them off with an overhead, in which the first stomp into the overhead is gapless. So you do want to keep that in mind. But the last stomp is an actual frame trap. And this does let you actually follow up. Right? So you can do with all the things that you want to do. What else do we have here off the top of my head? Ashi. Same thing applies to Ashi. This is going to be gapless. So if you have an opponent that is either trying to just defend the living shit out of your stomp, or they're they're using their if you're playing against B. Jeanette, who's countering in between close C and stomp. Yes, that is actually a thing. She can EX counter there, and she can respond to feint with the booty bump, or she can just follow up thoroughly with the counter. That is an option she has. Or like they're revving in between their stomps. That's also an option that some people have, to keep that in mind. If you want a more gapless pressure, you can go close C to Ashi. And then go for your break setups and mix-ups there. Like I was saying, it is +2 in multiple gaps, and it does have multiple break points in this move. So you have this one. That's your first one. And that's your second one, right? They are all +2. They just leave you at different ranges. All right, so that's it for the guide. In closing, he is a rushdown character that doesn't usually have the same weakness as other rushdown characters. He has really good damage. He has health, more health than usual. He just kind of loses that free-ish get in that most rushdown characters have, that like that free neutral skip, so he can be a little bit more difficult to get in. He also loses, he also has really expensive mix, so sometimes at times it can feel really expensive to want to open your opponent up at times. Besides that, he is still a really cool character. Even though I was joking during this, if you can't tell, I was joking during some part of these that he is bad. I don't think he's bad. I just don't think he's pretty good. Like, it's fair to say. I would end up putting him in like the B tier if he ends up that way. Anyway, please leave a like if this guide helped you out at all. Go ahead and drop a comment if you want to see any other guides from me in the future, or if you have any critiques about this one, anything I could have done better. I do like trying to improve these videos and having more structure to them. But that's it. Y'all have a good one, and don't forget to go out there and go cause some motherfucking havoc. Doses.